Hello and welcome to part 2 of Inside My Studio. Now in this mini video I'm going to be talking to you about how I store all my paper and sketchbooks. Now as an artist, I don't know about you, but I tend to collect absolutely loads of bits of paper, pads, sketchbooks, mount board, anything like that. And of course trying to find a home for it isn't always easy. Now I would love one of those proper big art storage units that you can get for paper, but firstly they cost hundreds of pounds, and secondly they take up an awful lot of space. And while I have a reasonable sized studio space, it is already full. I don't have space for a big unit. So I had to come up with some other ideas. Now for me, as you can see here, I've got this unit behind me with these shallow drawers in it. Now this has been an absolute godsend. It's got 6 drawers in it and it's not too big either. It's 67 by 66 centimetres. Now I actually got this from IKEA. So it was fairly reasonably priced. I think it cost me about £100 when I bought it a few years ago now, so it might just be slightly more now. But what I like about it is the fact that the drawers aren't too deep. When you buy a drawer unit, generally, obviously, they're designed for things like clothes, and what happens is your drawers tend to be very deep. And not really the right size. So for this has been perfect for storing in pads of paper and smaller sheets of paper, not my A1 size, because unfortunately they don't fit in here, but I will share with you what I've done with those in a moment. But this has been an absolute godsend, and it's also on caster wheels, so that it's really easy to move it around your studio if you need to, or whatever space you're using it in. So let me show you inside my drawers. So let's just have a little peek inside my drawers, shall we? So in this top drawer is where I keep some finished bits that, you know, kind of studies and things, things perhaps I've done on workshops. I love going on workshops and learning from other people still. I think it's important. I think even as a teacher, you never stop learning yourself. Sometimes, you know, I might have outlines I've drawn for tutorials that I've done and scanned in that I can't bear to just kind of get rid of, really. I just keep them in a drawer, you know, little studies, things like that tend to live in this drawer, things I don't quite know what to do with but don't want to throw away. Then I've got in here my drawing paper. So basically I've got a few smaller sheets, but it's where I tend to keep my pads of paper, really. So tanned paper, Duralar, and then just some normal kind of drawing paper, some Derwent sketching paper of the bigger pads. I just kind of store all that in there. Then I've got a load of watercolour pads. I used to do quite a lot of watercolour painting, so I collected pads then, and also my mum used to do a lot of painting, so when she passed away she left me all her art supplies as well, hence why I have so many, because I haven't done much painting in recent years since having my twins. So I have stacks and stacks of watercolour paper that I hope perhaps one day to go back to. And then I've got other painting paper in here for acrylics and things, and also I've got different types of paper for my pastels, different sheets from the velour to some Clairefontaine and all sorts going on in there. Then this drawer I've got in my things like trace down, you know, spare bits of fancy paper that need a home. And then, now what I will say to you is this drawer does keep getting stuck. You do have to be careful not to overfill them. I recently rechanged them round, hence why I've put some lighter things in this one now, because what happens is the bottom of the drawer sags. let me see, there you go, come free. You have to push it up. The bottom of the drawer sags if you overfill them, and then you can't get the drawer out underneath. So that's something to watch. In this bottom drawer, I keep in my clear packets to put my drawings in that are mounted, or any of my prints when I send them to people. So I keep all different sizes in here, because obviously I like to keep them nice and flat. And that is what is inside my little cupboard drawer here. Now, you may well be wondering, well, what on earth do you do with your big sheets of paper? Well, now, for me, like I said, I would love a big unit to keep them in, but it's just not practical for me at this stage. So what I do is, when I order my sheets of paper, I tend to order them from a company called Jackson's here in the UK. And they always send them in great big cardboard boxes. And these boxes are amazing for keeping the paper inside them. Let me show you. So when I receive my delivery from Jackson's, they always send them in these ginormous cardboard boxes, but they're not too fat. They're quite thin, obviously, as you can see here. And they very helpfully seal them down like with a flap. So what I do is, when I receive them, is I very carefully just trim down this top bit, but I make sure I keep the bottom bit still closed, so it's like an envelope with a flap. And then inside, they obviously stack the paper in such a way that it can't flop around within like a plasticky wallet. So I always just trim the top bit of the plasticky wallet bit. I'm not sure it actually is plastic. I think it might be a bit more environmentally friendly than that, hopefully. But whatever it's made of. And then the paper just slots inside it. Now, the great thing about these is then, because they're not too fat, although they're obviously big to fit the big sheets of paper, but I can just stand them upright by a space by my wall, by my desk, and then I don't have to find a space for them to stay flat, because obviously, being big sheets of paper, you know, if you lie them flat, they take up an awful lot of room. So I keep them in boxes. Now what I do is, when I keep these boxes, is I actually label the top of my boxes. I don't know if you can see that here. So this one is for my Stonehenge paper. And the reason I do that is because obviously when they're all stacked up, I can't tell what's inside each box. So I like to keep a box for different things. So I'll have one for my Stonehenge paper, one for perhaps watercolour paper, or you know, sort of painting paper. I also keep them for large sheets of mount boards as well, and I also have them to keep in some of my large prints as well that won't fit inside anything else. So I mean, they're very useful for keeping anything in, really, but like I say, just carefully cut the boxes and you can reuse them. Now, when it comes to sketchbooks, I have loads of sketchbooks, and no, I have not used them all. I just really like collecting them, with the hope that one day perhaps I will actually have time to fill them all. Now, the sketchbooks, as you can see here, I've got in this little basket. Now, baskets are great. This is obviously a nice wicker one, and I have a set of 3 of these for my art supplies. But you can obviously get them in many shapes and sizes and different materials. And these are fantastic because I just keep mine on top of my book unit, so they're on display. And it makes it really easy then just to grab a sketchbook and just pick it up and use it, and, you know, run out the door with it if you want to. And the great thing about the baskets I've got here are I've got my little A5 sketchbooks in it, but I've also got room to keep in my A4 sketchbooks as well. And as you can see, if I turn it sideways, this one, although quite heavy, holds a lot of sketchbooks. So I find these really, really helpful for my sketchbooks. Let me just pop it down here on the floor as I'm dropping it. I used to keep them in one of the boxes in the Calex unit from IKEA, like, you know, the bookshelves. But what I found is although they have lots of space in them, I just kind of, because they were kind of pushed away, I'd kind of forget about the fact that they were there really, and I'd never ever used them. So that is one suggestion for keeping them in, is obviously the boxes inside those storage units. But I personally like to keep them out on display so that they're easy just to grab and go, as it were. I really hope that you found that interesting and helpful, having a peep inside my studio this week, and perhaps giving you some ideas for your own storage solutions for your paper and sketchbooks. I would obviously love to hear if any of you have got any other suggestions or solutions to how you store these bits and pieces, and because I'm always open to new ideas, and it's good to be able to share with one another as well. Sometimes it can just help somebody out. Next week we shall be looking at all those other kind of storage solutions that I have within my studio. You know, for all those bits and pieces that one tends to collect as an artist, from rubbers to sharpeners to folders of things to goodness knows what. So I shall share with you what all those other extra bits and pieces are that I've come up with. So bye for now.